Competencies and employability, and moved from New Zealand all the way over to Australia to go TAFE, Gouldburn Institute of TAFE. And I'd like to welcome Christine Nicholas, who's been in the ePortfolio and learning management system area for a very long time and has gained lots of experience in there and shares what she's doing with her students at Go TAFE. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Hello, everyone. I'm from Victoria in Australia, and I work for Go TAFE, which is one of the largest regional TAFEs in Australia or in Victoria. We have campuses in about 7 different locations in the Golden Valley, in the Ovens, in the Gippsland, in the Western District. So quite a large organisation. Using ePortfolios for vocational industry currency. I've been working in the e-learning area for about 6 years. When I first started, I knew nothing about Moodle or Mahara. And Moodle we embraced. Mahara was something that everyone really struggled with. And one of my colleagues started teaching it, but she didn't really understand it. So I thought, I've got to learn this. I've got to learn what Mahara is about. And when I did, I became very passionate about Mahara. I think it's a fantastic tool for gathering evidence and showing what you've done over the years. Every opportunity we had at Go TAFE, we used ePortfolios to try to introduce our teachers to use them. For instance, a few years ago we had to do an upgrade for the training and assessment, so the Cert 4 in training assessment was the qualification for vet practitioners. And so we used the ePortfolio as a way of capturing that evidence, so the teachers had to learn how to use it. Because what I find with the ePortfolio of Mahara is that unless you are really comfortable with it, it's really hard for you to pass it on to your students. And so if you become comfortable with it as a teacher, then you're more likely to share it. So that was a really good start. Then we had about 60 teachers do the graduate certificate in education, tertiary teaching at Federation University in Victoria. And those 60 teachers actually had to use Mahara and got really good at it. And they started introducing it to their students. So you could see what was happening here. If you're introduced to something and feel comfortable with it, you'll share it. So the next step was to actually introduce it using vocational industry currency with our teachers, so that the teachers, if they could see a use for Mahara and use it and embrace it, then they'll share it on to their students also. So that's how it sort of started. So if I just go to the next slide. So we had a project, we put in funding and got a funding from the Vet Development Centre, and what we wanted to do was to capture what teachers do to keep themselves current, because that's really, really important in the vet sector. But I imagine it would be very important for those in the higher ed also. How many people from the vet sector here? Anyone? No? One? Good, I've at least got one. But in the vet sector, we have to keep current in the industry. So this ePortfolios really lend themselves to be able to do that. So that's what our aim was to do. So we wanted one system that we could capture everything that our teachers were doing, enabling the staff to record the work that they do outside the workplace, keep track of their professional development, memberships and activities, employment and education, reflections and information about any projects they've been working on. Because a lot of our teachers not only teach, but they actually work in the industry. So to capture what they're doing in the industry to show that they are current. The other outcomes were is to help staff when they were having their interviews with their managers, to look at where they need to do more professional development, or where they need to get industry release, things like that, that they could actually talk about that in their staff review. And then upskill teachers to gain confidence to introduce the ePortfolios to their students. So that was the other side of it. So how the project worked, we had 2-hour workshop, so it was either 2 to 3 hours, depending on the skill of the teacher. Now, we did do it face-to-face. The boot camp was done fully online, and I think that concept is good too. But we decided to go face-to-face because a lot of the teachers needed that hands-on, you know, to actually show them what to do. So they were given a 2-hour workshop, and the reason that we did that is that we wanted to make sure that they were qualified with their qualification, because we're governed by ASQA, and ASQA requires them to be qualified not only in education, like having the certificate for in TAE and the diploma of VET, but also in vocational. So that was one of the important things. Our teachers have to do a VCR, which is the vocational competency record, which shows that every unit that they teach, they've got to show that they've got the competency to do it. And they've got to show what they've been doing that's current, that enables them to teach. Now, after looking at the evidence, the smart evidence, I can see this has been really brilliant for that. If they could actually mark which competency they've done the training for. We did a report. We got all our teachers to do a CURCAT. Have you ever heard of CURCAT? It's a survey or a questionnaire that the teachers did to actually see where they've got their skills, and they get a report at the end to see whether there are any gaps or how well they did it. So all our teachers did that, and so that CURCAT actually showed that they did industry engagement, they work in the industry, they might have done some training online, that type of thing. And in our system at TAFE, all the qualifications sit in HR, so things like their licences, their resume and staff development records all sit with that HR department. But there was nowhere to actually capture the things like on the weekend that you help build a house, or that you work part-time as a nurse at the hospital. There was nowhere to capture that information. So that's where the ePortfolio came into play. So the ePortfolio showcased the professionalism as a VET practitioner, so that was what we were aiming to do, and it was just a build on from that report. There was 27 strategies that actually come out of that report, and that was what helped us actually develop the ePortfolio. So if I show you what those are, they broadly speaking were the personal, professional, industry networks, so employees conversations, committees, employed students, industry experience, employment in the industry, industry release, mentors, coaching, benchmarking with peers, training, active inquiry, personal research and internet publications. So there's lots of different ways that they could keep that currency. In the higher ed, I'm sure that there will be things that you have to do to keep current. Am I correct in saying that? Yes? Yeah. So you could apply the same principles. Yeah. So using the ePortfolio, teachers are able to showcase their evidence and demonstrate that they're maintaining the industry currency. And they were just showing some ways that that was done. So before we started the actual project, we actually did a survey with the students, or not students, well, my students, but they are teachers, to see what their level was in far as, you know, how comfortable did they feel in using an ePortfolio. And that sort of gave us an idea of how to structure the course and how we ran it. But what I found that there wasn't too many that felt that comfortable that wanted to go into the advanced. They really all wanted to come back into the sort of the beginners type, and just in case they missed something. So I found that I ran all the training sessions basically the same, giving more assistance to those who were brand newies. Yeah. So that's the way we sort of customise it. Teachers were first of all shown how to log in, and I was looking at the boot camp. It's very similar to the boot camp. We have structure of how we want to do it, but the difference is that I did it in one hit in the 2 hour to 3 hour slot. And the reason why I chose to do it that way is it is hard to get teachers away from teaching, And if you can just do it in one workshop, get them started, get them going, make them feel comfortable with it, you've got more chance of maintaining it. They were shown how to update their profile, and then they were shown how to create a journal and using the tags to identify the year that they did their currency update. And that was important. And remembering a lot of these teachers had been introduced to ePortfolios before, may not have touched it since, but they had been introduced to it before. So it was like a bit of a refresher on top of what they were doing. We created folders, and inside we created a folder for each year. Now, we were a bit prescriptive, I suppose, telling them which way to do it, but it was left open to them. We sort of gave them an idea about how it could work. So each year, and inside those folders, we had things like community of practice, conferences and things like that, so that they could put any files that they had associated with those different topics. Things like agendas to meetings, minutes from meetings, even snippets from a conference. It might be the program from the conference that you could put into that ePortfolio. And then with the training sessions, we had one journal, and with the journal they just put the year that it related to. So if, for instance, there's a workshop, the date of the workshop, the tag 2017, so that would bring that up in the 2017 journal, in page, I should say. We got them to do their resume, so they put all the employment and education in there, so, and all the other profile information that they wanted to include. And then we showed them how to create a page and then put it all together into a collection. So here's some examples. Oh, wrong way, sorry. Just go back. Just escape for a minute. This is an example of an ePortfolio. This is my own, so I thought I might give privacy. I'll probably better use my own as an example. So we used like an introduction for the first page. This particular one's got 13. I've sort of been accumulating my ePortfolio for a while, so I've got a lot of pages in mine. But like I have the resume, and then I went to a conference, and here it is. So when I go to conferences or do PD, I like to use Mahara for the workshops that I do, and then I can share it back at my institute, so I'll do a collection. So yesterday, I've done a page for yesterday and some of the outcomes of it. Today I've been taking lots of photos. I'll do reflections in my journal, put the pictures in there and join it all up, and then I'll share it with my institute. So not only does it's good for me because I can reflect back on it, and same as you as teachers, you can look back on what you learnt, but also it's because you can share with others what you did learn. You had the opportunity to come to a conference, you can share it back to other people. And the other thing is it justifies you being allowed to come to a conference, is that you've got something from it. So each year there would be a different page. So this, for example, is all the tagged entries that would be for that particular year. So this one's like 2016. So all the different journal entries. But also in each of these folders there would be files that relate to those areas for professional development research. Because part of being in the vet sector, even the fact that we do research on the internet to find out the latest technologies for our area is part of keeping us current. And even talking to our mentor, like with our colleagues, discussing different things is part of our updating for currency. So that's really, really important. And we've got to capture that. I mean, we do it all the time as vet practitioners, but we've got to capture it somehow. And a portfolio is the perfect way of doing it. Some of the other things that you can put in the ePortfolio, for the e-learning community of practice, this is something I run every month. I do the recordings, I put the recordings into YouTube, and I can put them into my ePortfolio. So that's another way of capturing evidence. Also, when I've been involved in, I was involved in Moodle Meets, in part of the program committee. Because the website might go down eventually, I've actually screenshotted the picture and put that in my ePortfolio as evidence that I was part of that committee, because it may not be there in a couple of years' time. So it's just different things that you can put into your ePortfolio. Okay, so yeah, so it just goes through, and so any conference that I go to, I actually do a page on that conference just to make sure that I've captured all that evidence and I can reflect back on myself, but also I can prove that I am current in what I do. So that's one example. This is one of my colleagues, Jo Omani. She's just shared her ePortfolio and said I could use it today. And what she's done also is she's actually linked to other portfolios from within this portfolio, because she also did the graduate certificate in education, and there was an ePortfolio required for there, so she's got her link to that. So that actually links up to another portfolio, because part of that training was actually keeping her current in her vocational education. Jo Omani is brilliant in that she did that graduate certificate in education and tertiary teaching. She teaches electrical students, and she's teaching at a level 2, certificate 2. But she has really embraced the ePortfolios with those students. She doesn't use it for assessment. She uses it for the students to put reflections about what they're doing, putting pictures on what they're doing, and they just absolutely love it. And you can just see what they've done from when they started to where they finish. So it's really brilliant. It's just really, really good. And the students really love it. And you can visually see their progress, and they can show it to potential employers, and it's just a great tool. So that's just showing her ePortfolio. She also puts in things like where she goes to trade shows or conversations with employers, because it's really important in our area to keep in with industry. So she has continued, as you can see there, she's got different things that she's put into her ePortfolio. But I'm really excited because now with all these changes that are coming in, and the smart evidence we have got, but I haven't applied it yet. So yesterday was fantastic. If you didn't get the opportunity, we actually played with smart evidence, and it's going to be such a brilliant thing to be able to use in your Mahara. Not only to show whether you're competent or not, I can just see so many benefits, even just, for your currency. Show me that you're current in that unit, and you've got this evidence you can show. So that's really good. At the moment, we are trying to introduce ePortfolios to students, and that's my aim. I really want to get students to experience ePortfolios, and unless the teacher introduces it to them, they sort of don't know about it. So this year, what I did, we have a course induction shell in our Moodle, and this year I've actually put in the induction shell what a Mahara ePortfolio is, and that they've got access to it. I've got the user manual there inside so that they can access their Mahara ePortfolio and how to log into it. And I'm just really interested to see how many students will just actually embrace it and have a go. Yeah, so let's see what happens. I'll keep you informed. Moving, let's come up again. Okay. So the feedback from the workshop, we did feedback at the start, we also did feedback at the end, and the feedback was quite good from the staff that did do it. But one thing, I actually created 4 videos as part of the project, so 4 different, and they're all about 8 minutes, so I didn't want them too long, 5 to 8 minutes, because as we know they'll lose interest. So those 4 videos were created so just so they can reflect back onto it, so as a backup to what the training session was. What I found was that a lot of the teachers were saying, we want something in writing, so paper-based. So from there, actually created a paper-based also. So not only had they got the videos, they also got the manual to help them on their way. So that's just reflecting on there. The feedback was that they did think it actually helped them and helped them understand what vocational competency was. So we were meant to do 20 training sessions, we did 29. We trained 109 staff, which is about a third of our teaching staff. The 4 videos were created, 1 training manual, and 85 actually gave feedback to the project. And what we're going to continue to do in 2017 is to do some revision for the teachers who have started the program, and also in capture the ones that have just started. So that should be good. This training allows staff to be better at ASQA. ASQA is the governing body for us and compliance. Improvement to the link to the ePortfolio and HR. But what we need to do is, as at GoTAFE, is to actually find a more seamless way of doing it. And now with these smart evidence, I can see that could be one thing less that the teachers would need to do with the VCR. They could actually do it all in Mahara. So I'm really excited about that, and I will go back with that. And that's about it. So any questions? Thank you. Yes?
And you've given us an example of your one here. I know one of the biggest things when you, for staff members at least, when you say go and use Mahara, is trying to drink through a fire hydrant. You know, how do I organise this? You know, I've tried several times to go, okay, I need to put all my professional development on here. You know, how do I represent my life on here? Have you stipulated?
We've given guidance.
By years, didn't you, eh?
Yes, we did it by years. And the reason we did it that way, because I see the advantage of it, because you think back of all the things that you've done, whether it be in the workplace or even outside, because you might be a member of community and you're doing projects, volunteer work, all that sort of, that all counts to your vocational competency, or you as a person. So the guide we did, we went from 2014 to 2016, because we started in 2016, the training. So I thought, well, at least they probably have got things for that time. They can go back further if they wish. Mine actually goes back to 2013, I think. So we had structure. The structure was first they had to do their profile, do their resume. So they're the 2 first things. And then create the journal, and then teach them how to use tags. And we did it multiple times, and that was why I thought the 2-hour workshop was better, because they just didn't do it once. They did. So we created a folder, we created subfolders, then we created the next one, create a folder, so they got familiar with using it. Then they create the page, they added the journal to the page, they added the folders to the page. And they did that once. Then they could have copied it, but I didn't let them do that until the end. And then I got them to do it again, so that they were familiar of how to create a page, how to add artefacts to the page. And that was really good. A lot of the teachers had done that CURCAT report, which was the one that had the 27 strategies. So they were asked to bring that with them. So that sort of gave them a bit of an idea of what could go in the ePortfolio, and therefore from there, then they could start putting things in. Yeah. So really what we did was, I suppose, created the skeleton for it, and then they put the data in. I made them do at least one entry, and one entry using an introduction, first of all, with all the tags, 2014, 2015, 2016, so they were there ready to go. And then when they brought them into each of those pages. Yeah.
How are they now getting on with their portfolios? Do they keep it up to date on a regular basis? Or
different people, different things. Jo's been very good, like she keep on updating hers. And I think what happens is I know I update mine regularly, because if I'm doing anything I like to put in my ePortfolio. But time does get away and think, oh, I should have put that in, and that's what tends to happen. And because at GoTAFE we have what we call IPP, which is like a staff teacher, manager and staff review, that happens twice a year. So that's a time when you think, oh, what have I been doing? I'm going to put something in. So not all staff, but a lot of staff are still using it. So it's important, yeah. And we'll keep on pushing refreshers and things like that to maintain that. Any other questions? Yes?
When you're doing the training, do you include the idea that an ePortfolio is more than just a collection of evidence? Do you talk about the idea of correct annotation and the value of reflection?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it depends on I've been focusing on the vocational education side of for the competency. But in the reflection is what they want to write about what they learnt, what they did, the conversations they had. That's really important to prove to them, to prove it. I'm talking it from vocational competency register. It's important to prove their competency, but also just for them as an individual to reflect on what they've been doing. Because I mean looking at one part of it, because your ePortfolio is not just one part. I have other sections in my ePortfolio that I'm not going to share with other people, I'll keep myself. So, yeah.
Is that COCAT framework available outside of Victoria?
I believe so. I have got an example of the COCAT report. If I go back to my ePortfolio in 2016. Now I've just got to remember which one it was in. Professional development, maybe? No. I know there's one there, so just give me a second. Maybe that one. It's run by Jay. Let me download it and have a look. And I'll delete that later. Has it come up? There it is there. Yeah, there it is there. JMA, run it. Okay. It's a tool to analyse how current you are in industry. It's really good. Yeah. It makes you think about what you are doing and how you can improve. Okay, so any other questions? Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Christina. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this Australian insight. And if you want to look at any more examples or Christine's extensive portfolio,
yes,
then we do have the opportunity later to do that, and maybe even immediately at afternoon tea, which is being served outside in the foyer. And then we are coming back to the continuation of the University of the South Pacific portfolio work. And in the other room, Massimo and Shen from AUT will be talking about playing Mahara.